Al, a bit of a tough week, you could say, or tough couple of weeks, you could say, around the club. I want to know, first and foremost, what was the reaction when we found out we wouldn't have a fortnight of European games?
Yeah, it's obviously disappointing. The uncertainty of the period, I suppose, guys getting used to it now, but it was a shame. When you feel there's a bit of momentum in the club, guys looking forward, they're bouncing into training, coaches making plans. Yeah, it's a shame. It would have been great to have a game Welford Road Friday night, but obviously not to be.
I know everyone talks about Steve and how prepared he is for every, I guess, eventuality. You're not dissimilar. Is the current climate seeing you have plans C, D and E as well as B?
Yeah, it was funny. I think we got to version 9 of the Northampton week by the time all the twists and turns there. Yeah, we just have to be very adaptable. We have to be prepared. And credit to players and staff, everyone, the schedule's going out seemingly later and later in the week now for the forthcoming week. People aren't complaining. They just get on with it, and it's just the nature of it, unfortunately.
Might be a simple question, but how does a week change when you don't have a game at the end of it? Because I would imagine you're doing, without presuming, more in the week now.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. We missed out on a pre-season really because our first COVID outbreak came at that time in those 3 weeks before the start of the season. And then we've missed another block then again over Christmas. So that's what we're treating it as like now. It's not pre-season, it's not presented as pre-season to anyone, but we're getting a good volume of work. And I think I mentioned to you after the Bath game, we're trying to mimic what a match week in terms of the volumes, intensities of that are. So it's tough, the boys are coming off now 2 very hard days of training.
So how do you use these 2 weeks now? What's the goal by the end of this fortnight?
The goal by the end of the fortnight is to become more prepared, to become better prepared for the next run of games. It's making sure we balance it with being physically better coming out of this time, but also mentally refreshed, giving the boys an opportunity to regenerate properly. So we're not going to go into the sale week feeling tired, feeling flat, not looking forward to that challenge. We need them coming in and fizzing into that week anyway. So it's getting that appropriate balance.
Do you tailor it, or is it a one in, all in kind of let's flog everyone, or are there blokes who actually think this might have come at a good time, or give them a couple of weeks of less each day?
Yeah, that's exactly it. But that's the same throughout the season. If we have these breaks, enforced breaks or not, some are missing game time, so they'll need to work hard now in preparation for what we anticipate would be a higher game load, a higher game minutes. And then we've got other players like Harry Potters, Cobus van Veeks, Guy Porters, who have had some interruptions with injuries, but now they're getting a good 2-week period to get them ready or get them as robust and resilient as possible going into the next block of games.
Effectively, in the next 2 weeks, instead of playing fixtures, it doesn't mean training stops. But what I'm interested to know is what work has been going on, or even just how much work's been going on to make sure that we are as safe as possible and also not contributing to community transfers.
Yeah, and that's it. You've touched on it. That's the really important thing, isn't it? In all of this, that's the really important thing. So probably a good time to mention how much work Simon Wallace, so he's our medical lead, but he's also taken the lead in terms of the regulations, everything to do with COVID. So his work has obviously grown massively during this time to make sure that we're in line with absolutely everything there. And doing all his physiotherapist role on top of that, leading that side of the department. So that's been a challenge, but he's done it so well, and he's really our guide in terms of everything. So he's the one who has to direct us. As much as everyone is in line and doing everything possible, we were audited only last week. He's the one who kind of gives us reminders, gives the players the reminders, staff reminders around everything. So yeah, he's sometimes seen as the mask police, or the COVID police, the COVID NOS, I think I've heard as well. But he is essential for everything to run as smoothly and to keep everything as safe as possible.
One game a week is, if you're working 40 hours a week, maybe the players are in and out, on the field, off the field, it's about 3% of the week, right? So ignore my maths if that's wrong, but I'm assuming. Is it a good thing or a bad thing to not have games? Because it's only 80 minutes really, so much more continues. I know you said about preparation, but is it a case of, yeah, it's nice to have 2 weeks off from a game, or it's not, or are the players mentally going to be like, well, no, I just want to get out there and rip into someone?
Yeah, look, the positives of no games is mentally there's a lesser stress.
Yeah.
You know, however, everyone's in this business to play games, and
Yeah.
you know, we want to measure yourselves. You know, everyone wants to measure themselves on a Saturday or a Friday night or a Sunday against whoever you've got against you on the pitch. So it's a shame. You know, we want to play games. I'm sure when you're 12, 13, 14 games in a row, you know, it gets to the stage then you go, this is tough going. But that's the nature, and you know, yeah, we want to play games.
We've talked a little bit about how it's off the field as much as on the field. How do you keep momentum going after what's been a successful block for the club in terms of results?
Yeah, that's the new challenge, isn't it? You know, you get 2 weeks off and you go, I want to play, you know, because you want to continue the momentum. But that's the nice part then, is, okay, how focused can we be? How engaged can we be in the tasks and training? How hard can we work consistently? Because that is what we're all about now, you know. Steve has mentioned it numerous times. Are we moving forward continuously? And then making sure that when we get to the next game, that we can still take the momentum that we had beforehand, but you know, build on that again. So yeah, we're mindful of it, but at the same time, if there's no game, we need to switch off a little bit from it and just focus on the areas that we can control those weeks.
Obviously, there are a larger amount of players in squads that are not playing games, so their training is already in some ways different to those that are playing each week. You are sometimes running 2 squads almost. That's just the nature of the current, without Championship, without Premiership, Cup, A-League. When you look at those guys, how are they continuing to be prepared to potentially play a game, knowing that they might not, but still there is the chance where they have to be thrust in?
Yeah, that's a challenge. It's making sure that when they get an opportunity, we've done right by them, that our planning is reflected in how prepared they are and how ready they are. So if you see in 3 weeks' time there's a new name on the team sheet, he should be in the right position to go in there seamlessly because of the work that he's done leading up to that time. So that's our challenge. And I think sometimes when new players come into teams and people go, it wasn't great, that's our fault, because we haven't contributed to making sure that he is ready to go.
Are there guys that have, I guess, almost been tailored off into like a third group at the moment, because we know the Six Nations is coming and we may foresee seeing a couple of guys go off and play in that for England? Are there guys that you're looking at in positions and saying, look, you've got to start preparing because you're going to be playing soon?
Yeah, we have to manage where game time has been in recent weeks. And just to mitigate for the guys who haven't had any game time whatsoever, how do we best prepare? It's probably not the week of the game, because that's pretty late. That might even incur a little bit of panic in the player. So what can we do on a weekly basis to make sure that if we do even get a late withdrawal, if it's a Friday, okay, who's the next guy? Is he ready to go? You know, it's that kind of mentality.
As a final point, we obviously talked at the start about the mood in terms of reacting to this week's news, and that's fine and you get on with it. But this whole season has some level of uncertainty. Even weekly, there's unavoidable doubt about testing and whatever it may be. How have you felt the mood's been among everyone with that in mind? Because it's unavoidable at times.
Yeah, the mood's been good, you know. The mood is, when we come in to do our COVID testing on a Monday, after a win, it's better, you know. There's good energy there. However, you know, even with doubt around games, players come in and they're in a positive frame of mind, because they all get it, you know. They all appreciate that we have to move forward. So every training session, every training day is an opportunity to improve in an area, you know. So as a coaching group, we've got that challenge to just keep on keeping the players engaged. And you know, so the energy has been good. It's tough, isn't it? When someone asks the question, do you think it'll be on this weekend? And you go, look, let's assume it is, and we'll deal with it. And that's where, you know, being so adaptable as a whole group now, and I mean that in terms of everyone at Oval Park, you know, the kitchen staff, they don't know if we're going to train on Friday or if we've got a captain's run, you know, and that's the nature of it. So no, but the energy, you know, the energy is good on the whole.
I have to ask as well, the one big controversy is around your hairdo at a recent photo shoot. You've done a lot of photo days in your career. Surely you're more prepared for those than you have been this season.
I'm going to blame that on lockdown. I normally go in for a short back and sides, a proper like military haircut once in a while, but yeah, I don't actually know what's going on, and I've got my beanie on most of the time as well.
And Charlie Clare, of all people, to give you stick on it.
Yeah,
that's
Charlie
a bit rough.
Clare. That's sad times, isn't it?
Thank you, Alan.